There's been quite a lot of talk on some of the Facebook groups regarding Delft Clay casting. I love Delft Clay casting, and I've been doing it for many years. Must be close to at least 20-25 years, perhaps, if it's been going that long. And I've been doing some this afternoon. We've been making up a really heavy torque bangle. This is the wire that we're going to be using for the torque bangle, and I have already cast one of the balls. These are one of the balls that's going to go on the end. You can't really focus on that. If I bring it back to my face, there you can. It's a willy whopper of a ball, and that's what I'm just going to be casting now. Basically, to show you, and I think a ball is one of the easiest shapes that you can cast, because you can simply get a round ball bearing, put it into the mold, and hey presto, you've got a lovely gold ball. 9 times out of 10 you will get some slight marks on it, but as it's going to be purely to go on the end of a torque bangle, it really doesn't matter too much. Okay, so I'm going to put the camera on the tripod so I can do this hands free, and I can just quickly talk you through what I'm going to be doing when it comes to making up a very simple mold. Now, this camera that I'm using is my vlogging camera. It's not the professional ones that we've got here up in the studio. With this camera, I can move it around and get close-ups and that sort of thing, which I can do really easily. I can't do it with the professional ones that we've got here. As you can see, there's that one there, and there's the other one is on the floor at the moment. Okay, let's put it on the tripod and let's crack on. Okay, so let's get started. We have 2 rings. There's a male, this one, and the female. How do I tell? It's like with everything else. The male one here has a little something of a lip protruding. This one here has a recess. The male fits inside the female. We've got locating marks here as well, as you can see. When we put the molds together, we always must make sure that those locating marks come together exactly like that. You've got your Delft Clay. Let's bring that out here. It's normally quite lumpy like this, so what you're going to do is get a ruler and simply chop it up really nice and fine. The finer you can get it, the better your mold will turn out. Looks quite fine, but we've still got some of these lumps here. Almost like chopping up herbs. Okay, once you've done that, get the ring, get the male ring, the one with this edge. Put that edge face down, lip wise facing down. Grab your sand, grab your clay, push it down. Make sure we got a nice mound on the top like that. Then grab a hammer and start to hammer it down. So the idea is to compact it. The tighter and the more compact it is, the finer the surface of the finished model. You can see how it's going and squashing down. If need be, put some extra on top. Keep hammering. Okay. Get your ruler, slice off the top. Okay. So that's what we've got, a gorgeous surface that now we can put our model into it. This is going to be really easy. This is just a simple ball bearing. Put it as near as possible into the middle as you can and push down. And the idea is, this is so simple. Ball bearing, there's no undercuts, there's no nothing. I'm pushing it down until that ball bearing goes roughly halfway down into. And it has to go halfway down into it, otherwise it's not going to work the next part. Push down that clay, sand, whatever you want to call it. Make sure it's nice and tight against the side of that ball bearing. Check. I can go a little bit further down. Okay, so we've gone roughly around about halfway, as near as halfway as I can make it. Chop up the little bit of sand there. Don't worry about these marks you've got going around here. Next thing we want to do is get some talcum powder and put some talcum powder over the surface. This is going to stop the two halves sticking together. When we put the next layer of sand on top, paint it all the way around the brush. Okay, make sure you don't have too much on the actual model itself, but as long as it's coated like that, and then simply go blow the excess off. Once you've done that, grab the female part, the one where the lip is going to locate into, I should say, and also then get those location marks coming round until they line up exactly. Okay, dokes, there's the ball bearing, there it is there. Put the fine sand on top of that, gently push it down. As we've got there, again, pile it a little bit higher than what you actually need. Then you can get your hammer and again, bash it, add a bit more on top. Round and around and around. And then again, with your ruler, grab it onto the edge and run that ruler across the edge of the ring. And that's what we've got. So the ball bearing, the mold is all complete. The location marks are still there. What we need to do now is to separate these out. Don't think about twisting it, but just pull straight away. If it doesn't come away easily, just get a knife into that gap and just give it a bit of a twist. Okay, so that's the one half, that's the other half. What we're going to do, because this top half is the thicker of the two, we're going to cut our channel so we can pour our metal, our gold in this case, in this top half. So leave the model in place, put that to one side. We need to get a very thin drill, or what I normally use is a used burr. And I'm going to push that straight down through the center and out of the back. Like that. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about it. So there's our hole. At the moment, I don't think that hole is big enough. You have to get the metal into the mold as fast as possible. You have to get the metal into that mold as fast as possible before the metal starts to cool down. Otherwise, it's not going to fill that mold up at all. Get a knife, and what you want to do now is to use that hole that you have just pushed through as the center and just run the blade around and around and make a nice pouring channel. Go down as far as you possibly can with the channel. So you've got about a millimeter or 2 or 3 millimeters between the end of your mold and your pouring channel. Once you've done that, clean up that pouring channel with your finger. Then what you can do is grab something a little bit bigger now, because that really is too small to get molten gold in to fill the hole. So you can grab the end of a paintbrush, you can grab the end of a needle file and just push it down, and always push from the mold side out. Never try and push through from this side, because as you can see, you've got a bit of sand there that will always come off, and you don't want to damage the inside of this this mold here. You may have some loose clay, sand. Get your paintbrush in there just to clear out any loose sand. And then what you want to do, because when you push down into the sand, it brings up some more sand as displacement. So we need to make sure that we can push these two halves together. So get your locating marks together, push them together. So this half is perfect, absolutely perfect. Now, when you pour the metal in, right, when you pour the metal into the mold, the air has to go somewhere. To my hair. The air has to go somewhere. So we have to make some small little air holes for the air to escape. So the air is displaced when the gold goes into it. So again, you can simply grab your burr, and then push that down on the outside edge, again going from the inside of the mold outwards, and perhaps do that, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times. So these are going to be the channels that the air that is trapped in that side of that mold is going to come out from. Then I can get a knife and just run that knife from the mold out to those holes. They don't need to be big holes, they just need to be enough holes to allow the air to come out. Again, I'm going to make sure that everything is perfect. Grab my two halves, align them up into place. Beautiful. Okay, I'm happy with this now. Pouring channel, make sure there's no little bits of sand in there. Blow it. Try not to blow from this side here, blow from that side, and that's looking good. Now I can take the ball out of this half, like that, drop it straight down in your hand. That's the one half. Here's this half. Put them together exactly as we did before. And that now is our mold ready to pour the metal, gold in this case, down that hole to fill up the mold. Okay, so I'm down here in the workshop. We're going to melt down some of this gold, and I'm just going to quickly show you just really what the metal has to look like, because this is something that is really, really important. A lot of people don't realize how hot the metal has to get before you pour it. It's better. It has to be rolling. The surface has to be rolling like a mercury. It all has to be. My saying is, when you think the metal is going to be warm enough, hot enough to pour, wait another 30 seconds at least to ensure the metal is the same temperature, because on the outside it may look as if it's the right temperature, but inside the melt it may not look just right. So add an extra 30 seconds, you're going to get the heat getting through into the center of that molten gold to make sure it really, really is hot enough to pour. Because as soon as you start to pour it, that metal is cooling down, and you want to take it above melting point. So when you angle that crucible and tip it, it's molten as it goes into the pouring channel. It stays molten and goes down then through that sprue hole to fill up your mold. And don't forget, you're going to need at least twice, if not 3 times the mass, the weight of that model. So the ball I've got is so big, I need 3 times the amount of metal, or at least double the amount of metal in addition to that, so there's enough weight to go down into and push down, and gravity then is going to pull the metal down and fill the mold. Have too little metal, there's not enough force being applied on top of the molten metal, so it'll just dribble down and then it'll freeze and not fit into the mold. Or the metal will come down and it's going and all the metal is coming down on top and it fills the mold up full. Get it? Yeah, okay, let's carry on melting down. So I also really wanted you to be sure that any hollow items are broken. The air is allowed to escape. These were some round sleepers, but the ends were captive. The ends were closed in. I've broken them in half to allow the air to escape. There's my old bit of sprue. You can see how much metal I had on top. A good amount of excess gold to force the metal in. So that's what we've got there. You'll also need some borax as well. I've got a good load of borax here as well, and that's going to go on top of the melt as we're melting it down. Okay then, let's get cracking with this. Let's get Jason's torch and let's get melting down. Okay, we've got a nice flame. You don't want it doing that, okay? Far too hot. It's going to put too much oxygen into the metal. It's far too hot. Okay, but not this. Far too hot, hissing. You can see how hot that is. Have it slightly more relaxed. Okie dokes. So once the metal has heated up and it's nice and red, come along and just sprinkle a little bit of borax on the top. It's going to help the metal melt down a lot better. So the idea is to keep heating the whole lot of metal. Don't put the torch in one place all the time because you're going to overheat the metal in that one place. Try and bring it all up to the same sort of temperature. The crucible also has to be to the right temperature as well. So you can see how all that metal has started to melt down. What's left in the middle is that big piece of gold that we had. So even if the outside of the metal looks like it's rolling, let's see if I can get you in there. There we go. Now you can see what's happening. You can see how the metal looks to be molten. You can see the metal moving, but that is not red. You can see there's bits of stuff on top of the surface, yeah? Grab some borax. Sprinkle some borax on top. You see how quickly that metal cools down. The metal has to be rolling. Tap it. Tap the crucible. Keep tapping it. We're not ready yet. Let's try and get you back into that crucible a minute. Okay, you can see that is just coming up to temperature. I'm going to put some more borax on top. Really make sure that surface is rolling. The surface must not be scabby. Okay, I've waited that 30 seconds when I thought it was about ready to pour. Okay, the surface is looking lovely. Let's put a bit more on. Surface is beautiful. It's spinning. I'm spinning it around the crucible. It's looking really good. Get the flame on the edge, okay? The flame is on the edge of that crucible. The metal is virtually about to pour. Ready, 1, 2, 3, and in it goes. My crucible has come off my crucible holder. And that's it. So that, let's move that back. So that is what we've got. You can see the metal was turning over and over and over and over, and it's not quite ready to pour. The surface has got to be gorgeous and clean. You've got to put some borax powder onto it, making sure that that surface is clean. You swoosh the crucible around in any of the crap that is on top of that melting gold or melting silver, if you're using it, gets swooshed around and taken up inside the crucible. Once it's like that, all the rubbish is being taken off the surface, it's clean, it's crisp, bit more borax onto it, and then when you think it's going to be ready, wait another 20 seconds and keep swishing it, tap and tap and tap, swish, 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 bring it to the edge of the rings. Bring the torch right to the edge of the crucible, because the flame has to stay on that metal for as long as possible. And then swoosh it in. Don't chuck it in, just turn the crucible so the metal just goes straight the way down. It'll stay molten enough to go down. The air will not be stopping the gold going in, because the air is going to be escaping up those little air vents, air holes that we put in when we made the mould. So the air has been displaced, the metal's gone in, and I'm absolutely sweating. So join me back upstairs, I'll open the mould and I'll show you what a perfect ball we have. Okay, we're back and we are going to open this for the first time. Ooh, bit of a strange angle. Right, okie doke. Eyes down here, let me show you, fingers crossed. First, let's get rid of all of the, it's hot. Let's get rid of all this over that side. The reason being is that all this black that we've got, whether, it's hot, where this metal has been in contact with the sand, it's burnt, it's black, we cannot use that, we throw that away. Everything else that isn't black, we can keep. Okay. Right, they're perfect. Okay, there we go. So that is looking good. This area is here, all the black, as I just said, we need to throw away. If I can find my knife, and we can just simply, it is hot stuff. Okay, we can scrape all this black away. We don't need it, that can go in the bin. So all of that pile that we've got there goes in the bin. The rest of what we've got here we can keep. This is also very hot, and it is very hot, and again we can cut around that. All the black goes into that pile, that gets chucked away. Knock that out. There we go, and all that black sand, it's burnt. The oil is burnt out of it. We don't need it. We don't want it. But the rest of it, yes, we can keep. As you can see, that will go on our keep pile. Keeping the sand pile, chucking away the sand pile. And that's our, I'm not even going to attempt to pick this up because this is going to be hot. And as you can see, there is our sphere. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I've got matching balls. Okay, take the camera off there. So that is what I've got. Will we be able to zoom in on it? I don't know. There we go. Matching balls. This was the ball that I did first. That is what I have just done. Ah, that is hot. And that is what I have just done. As you can see, it has a slight seam around the edge. Very slight seam, just like that one there, where the mold was, but that is a perfect ball. And what I would do really is to keep hold of the sprue, keep hold of this bit of gold, because I can hold on to this whilst I clean up that ball. I didn't do it with this one because I needed the gold from that, because it was my client's gold, to add into this one. But that's what I would do. I'd hold on to here and I would finish off that ball so it's all nice and shiny, and you can use this to hold on to whilst you polish as well. So there we go. That was really quick demonstration on Delft Clay casting. We have done it many times before on At The Bench, which is our online jewellery training website. But that was just to show you the basics, a really simple model, a ball bearing. How simple can that be? But when you combine it with this bit of gold as well, we're going to combine that to make a most beautiful, heavy gents torque bangle. You cannot, as far as I'm aware of, buy these balls this size. That's about 12-13 millimeters. Even if you could buy these balls, they are going to cost you a lot of money. I think that weighs about 16 grams each ball. So that's an ounce of gold for 2 balls, plus 40 grams for that. So that is going to be one heck of a willy whopper of a torque bangle. So there we go. That is how we cast the balls using the Delft Clay system. Take care. Bye for now.